I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV Velocities in Music, the best kept secret in music reviews. We haven't done enough hip-hop this year, so it's time to review some hip-hop. And, you know, Tom and I just have this penchant for experimental music, music that takes sound to the next level. So whenever a hip-hop artist like Death Grips comes along and reinvents what hip-hop should be, or is, it's always very exciting. We kind of have one of those on the line today with clipping, which has been garnering a little bit of buzz. This is a duo. They're a producer duo that, you know, obviously do a lot of rapping, a lot of producing, but clipping is, you know, been described, I've heard, as noise hip-hop or noise-based hip-hop, and I think that that's pretty apt now that I've listened to this album many times. Their first album, Mid-City, came out last year. It was self-released, and then Clipping, their debut on an indie label, Sub Pop, Clipping without any vowels in all caps. Just keep that in mind. Very important to notice.
Can I not keep that in mind?
Yeah, no, you have to look at tune yards. It's stylized that way for artistic reason. We have to observe. Anyways, this is the second record. It's just a very, from the moment you put it on, the intro track, 1 minute and 4 seconds long, it is just the most fiery hip-hop delivery I have heard since Eminem's Marshall Mathers LP, the first one, and it's just an intense way to open the record. But Tom, you are definitely more informed about hip-hop as a genre than I am. I mean, I listen to a lot of hip-hop, but not like you do.
You always put me in the corner like that.
You're kind of
it's a lot of pressure.
You're our musical historian here in this duo.
So, okay, you know, thinking about this in the context of like all rap, obviously today's rap age is very different because you have a lot of stuff going on in the indie sphere, like Clipping, like the Odd Future Gang, and a lot of other hip-hop artists like that are really doing something different. They're trying to be a little edgier. And it's really kind of kicking against that club mentality, because rap music anymore is pop music. It's what's dominating Main Street pop radio, but it's all stuff about being in the club, and we've talked about this countless times.
And there's always a pop remix and a techno remix of every major hip-hop.
Yeah, exactly. So Clipping is, you know, in that vein of artists these days that's kicking against that, doing something a little bit more interesting, not only with the beats, but with the subject matter, with the delivery, and all of that. Now, I will say, I had a very odd experience with this album. I'll be perfectly honest, right out of the gate, after listening like 2, you know, the reason we decided to review this is because we did a quick preview, and I thought that it was intriguing enough that we'd have some things to say about it. After second or third listen, I did not like this album. No. But then after a few more listens, I came up on it considerably, and here's why. So, first off, I think that what it comes down to is a majority of this album, the content is actually very good. I think that the beats are interesting. Some of the things they're doing with song structure is interesting. The lyrics are thought-provoking. The delivery is great. But the reason that I didn't see it at first is because the low points on this album are low. I mean, low. There are a few tracks on this album that I hate so much I would not try to hold back any punches on them. I would say the biggest offender is track 6, Tonight. I don't get why anyone thought that would be okay to put on an album, especially considering this is like a 55-minute, 14-track album. There's no need for it. There's enough good content to fill up like 35 to 40 minutes of material, so why wouldn't you just leave it at that? I don't quite get that. The other thing that really bothered me at first is that this album comes right out of the gate with the intro track and Body and Blood.
Two of the best tracks on this record.
Absolutely, and they're edgy as hell. The intro track, it's just this like piercing, screeching noise with some of the most quick-witted rhymes and delivery that I've heard in hip-hop in a long time, as you said. And then Body and Blood has this just sinister-sounding industrial beat with really violent...
metallic sound.
Really violent imagery, and it's just... the first time I listened to that song, I was at work, I was having a really stressful day, and it gave me anxiety. I was having like a panic attack, and
that is always an awesome sign.
It is. I'm like, I don't like this right now, but I know that I will will, because I respect the hell out of any music that can scare the shit out of me that much. That's
why Swans is a band.
Yeah, that's why
their whole purpose.
I love stuff like that. So I came back to it, and I still love those 2 tracks, but after listening to the rest of the album, I thought, wait, I feel like they're laying out all their good cards in the first 5.5 minutes of this album, and then the rest of it never lives up to that. I don't get the energy and the angst that I get on Body and Blood, and I don't quite get the delivery and speed and just, adept rapping that you do on the intro track. Now, you kind of do. I'm like taking off track 5, which was a track pick of mine for this reason. You get some of that really good, fast-moving rapping. But when they tell you right off the bat that they are capable of that, why would they not utilize that strength more? It's a mystery to me. I don't quite understand that. Now, that didn't bother me as much when I got to listen like 5 or 6, because I saw a lot of the other good things that they're doing. A lot of the lyricism, a lot of the beats, especially I would say track 7 and 8, Dream and To Get Up. Wow, even talk about albumization there. Dream is a really soft, kind of whispered track, but if you're listening to it on good headphones or on a good system, you pick up on all the lyrics, you pick up on kind of the ambient mood, and then it goes into that alarm clock buzzer, which comprises the beat of Get Up. I mean, the songs flow into each other like a story almost, and I think that's really cool. It shows a lot of forethought. I also appreciate the fact that they can do something so impactful with so little. Those couple of tracks are actually fairly minimalistic, but they make a strong statement.
In fact, I'd say Get Up is probably one of the... It is the simplest track on the album. Even Tonight, the closest thing you have to a club banger that is not really that forward-thinking at all, and it's really a low point on the album, even that song has a little part right in the middle of the song that is a complete, it seems like an out, like they just stuck this other part of another song in the middle of Tonight. And so even that song is experimenting with just general ideas of hip-hop songs. But Get Up is very stripped down. It is just a verse, chorus format, and it builds a little bit around that alarm clock that's just, it is annoying as shit the first time you listen to it, but after you realize just the powerfulness of the delivery and how they build that track, it is one of the most forward-thinking, beautiful hip-hop songs I have ever heard, and I have to give them a shitload of respect for that. I think that is super impressive. But I agree with you, Tom. Intro and Body and Blood, definitely the high point of this record. Work, Summertime, Taking Off, and Tonight, no, I'm sorry, not Tonight. But those first few tracks are very, very strong, and then from Tonight on, Tonight's kind of the first hiccup. If you took that song out, really, the first 7 tracks of this record would be fantastic. Now, there's also Or Die, Inside Out. I don't feel like the beats are quite as good on some of the later tracks. This record redefines, in a Yeezus or even Death Grips style, like redefining what we think hip-hop beats can be or should be. This album is in that same vein of redefining how hip-hop beats should be. It's metallic, it's noisy, it's loud, it's industrial, and it rocks the hell out. Really fits with that high octane intensity level in the delivery, and I think that works really well throughout the album. Now, where I think this falters is where they try to they add female vocals, especially in the choruses here and there, and I think that female vocalist usually doesn't have the same level of intensity, and so I think it doesn't work quite as well sometimes. And I agree with Tom. This album is too long. The last track, Williams Mix, Noise. I mean, it's just noise. That's all it is. It's just
like quick samples from pieces of the album that are put together in no particular...
Think like off the White Album Disc 2, Revolution 9, just like much louder, much more annoying, and much faster. And it's like, you're having a seizure. And it's totally unnecessary. It doesn't need to be there at all. In fact, the last track ends, which sounds like Yeezus. It's a really good way to end it. It incorporates some of that noise. So it takes some of the motifs of what they were trying to do, the statement they were trying to make, and puts it into a song form that ends the album nicely. Why they didn't just end it there, I don't know. Dominoes, weaker track. I feel like some of the end of this album just does not finish as strongly as the first part of this album. But man, let me tell you, the things that Clipping is doing here impress the hell out of me. And I wish that they would have just taken the time to polish this up a little bit. And I think that with time, they have the potential to be one of the most forward-thinking, influential rap outfits of this century, or at least of this decade. So I really enjoyed listening to this and really getting into it. From the first listen on, unlike you, Tom, I liked this album from the first listen on. It was really trying to find the reasons why I wasn't in love with it. And I found several. So I just want to say that lyrically, this guy has a talent for being able to really paint a picture, to take you to another place, and he does it with lyrics. He creates an environment, a culture, lots of drug references, lots of other hip-hop references like Jay-Z and some other hip-hop artists from the past. I mean, and it really just creates this very heady listen, I think. Yeah. And it's one that I enjoyed coming back to, except for a couple of key moments, which did bring this down to a 79 for me.
I'm going 78.
Okay, so your score doesn't matter.
No.
79 for me, and Velocities in Music means that this is an above-average record. This has a lot of promise, and like I said, and as Tom said, like, this would probably be a lot higher for you and me if they would have just cut out some of the fat and made this album a bit more concise and focused. I think that would have really pushed this up into the upper 80s for me, personally, and I'm sure you too, Tom. So a lot of promise here. Definitely go out if you're into just experimental hip-hop at all. Go out and listen to Clipping by Clipping, and let us know what your thoughts were, any, like, just anxiety that you felt. What was your personal experience with this record? Let us know at www.velocitiesandmusic.com or youtube.com/velocitiesandmusic. Also, Facebook, Twitter, follow us, like us, whatever. And then let Tom and I know which records you'd like to see us review on this channel. I am Jake.
I'm Tom.
And we are VIMTV, moving music critique forward.